Welcome to your deep dive. Today, today we're going to be diving into the world of Dr. Joe Dispenza and exploring this whole idea of letting go.
Oh, yeah.
The material you gave me is really fascinating. It talks about how all the negativity, past hurts, and limiting beliefs, all that stuff we hold on to, can really weigh us down.
Yeah, it's incredible how much lighter we can feel when we learn to release those burdens.
Right.
Dr. Dispenza offers some really practical advice on how to do that.
Okay, so to start off, the material uses this image of carrying around a heavy weight.
Right.
It's like all that stuff we're holding on to becomes this invisible burden.
It's such a powerful visual.
Yeah.
Imagine you're just lugging that weight around with you everywhere you go.
Oh, I don't even want to think about it.
How would that make you feel? Physically?
Right.
Mentally?
Exhausting.
Probably exhausting, right?
Yeah.
It would slow you down in every aspect of your life.
Yeah.
Dr. Dispenza says that's exactly what happens when we cling to past grievances, anxieties, limiting beliefs. They become this invisible weight holding us back.
Yeah, it's like we're dragging around all this baggage from the past and worries about the future.
Mm-hmm.
And it's preventing us from fully being present, isn't it?
Exactly. And what's really interesting is that we're often not even aware of it.
Right.
These burdens operate on autopilot, silently draining our energy and shaping our perceptions without us even realizing it.
So if we're not even aware of it, how do we even begin to identify these weights that we're carrying?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Well,
What should we be looking out for?
think about those recurring negative thoughts that just pop up.
Yeah.
Maybe it's that nagging feeling of not being good enough or,
Yeah.
constantly replaying a past hurt in your mind
Mm.
or always worrying about things that might never even happen.
The what ifs.
Yeah, the what ifs.
Yeah.
Exactly. Those are all burdens we carry even if we don't realize it.
I think a lot of people struggle with that feeling of not being good enough. What's fascinating to me is that Dr. Dispenza says we have the power to actually put down this weight, that letting go is a skill we can develop.
Right. It's not easy, of course.
Right.
Especially when those thought patterns and emotional habits become so ingrained over time.
Mm.
But we can learn to release what's no longer serving us and step into a lighter, more fulfilling way of being.
Okay.
It takes time and practice, but it is absolutely possible.
So how do we actually do that? Where do we even begin?
Well, Dr. Dispenza places a lot of emphasis on forgiveness.
Okay.
Now, keep in mind that forgiveness doesn't mean condoning the actions that hurt us.
Right.
It's about releasing the grip that those past hurts have on us.
Okay.
It's about reclaiming your emotional energy that was essentially being held hostage by the past.
That's a really powerful way to put it. Reclaiming your energy.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that saying, holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Exactly. Forgiveness is a gift we give to ourselves. It allows us to break free from the past, and it opens up a space for healing and peace.
Dr. Dispenza actually suggests a specific exercise for letting go of grievances, right? Something about writing a letter.
It's called the letter writing technique.
Okay.
So you write a letter to the person who wronged you, pouring out all your feelings, the anger, the pain, everything.
Really let it all out.
Don't hold anything back. Then at the bottom you write, I forgive you and I release you.
And then what? You mail it.
And here's the interesting part. You don't actually send the letter.
You don't.
Nope.
So what's the point of writing it if you don't send it?
The power lies in the act of writing it all down. It's about acknowledging the hurt and then making the conscious choice to forgive.
Oh, okay.
It's a symbolic act. You can burn the letter, tear it up, bury it, whatever feels right to you.
That's a really interesting concept. So forgiveness helps us let go of the past. But what about anxieties and fears that weigh us down? How can we apply this letting go principle to those?
Well, that's where the power of being present comes in.
Okay.
Dr. Dispenza reminds us that most anxieties are about things that haven't happened and might never happen.
Yeah.
We get caught up in this what-if thinking, and that's where the fear takes hold.
So instead of worrying about what could happen, we need to shift our focus back to the here and now.
Precisely. He has this simple but effective grounding technique. When you feel that anxiety creeping in,
Okay.
take a deep breath, feel your feet on the ground, and start noticing your surroundings.
Okay.
Name 5 things you can see,
I like that.
4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste.
It's like you're using your senses to anchor yourself in the present moment.
Exactly.
That's so clever. But then what? After you've done that, what's the next step?
The next step is to ask yourself, what is the problem right now, in this moment?
Right.
Not what could happen in the future, not what happened in the past, but right now. What's the problem in this moment?
Yeah, that's a good one.
And you'll find most of the time there really isn't a problem in this very moment.
Right.
It's our minds projecting into the future or dwelling on the past that creates that feeling of anxiety.
So it's about bringing our awareness to the present moment
Mm.
and checking in with ourselves.
Exactly. It's about shifting our focus from those hypothetical worries to what's actually happening right here, right now.
Right.
And that's where the power lies.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So by grounding ourselves in the present, we're essentially weakening the grip of anxiety. But what about those deeply ingrained negative beliefs that can really cloud our perception?
Yeah.
The stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what we're capable of.
That's another area where letting go can be incredibly transformative. Dr. Dispenza encourages us to question those stories.
Yeah.
Are they really true? Where's the evidence to support them?
Right.
Think of it like gathering evidence for a court case.
Okay.
You need solid proof, not just assumptions.
So it's about challenging those assumptions and actually looking for evidence to the contrary. It's like instead of just accepting that negative thought as truth, we're putting it on trial.
Exactly. And let's say you have this belief that you're not good enough.
Right.
Start looking for examples in your life that prove that belief wrong. What are your strengths? What have you accomplished? Where have you shown resilience and courage? You'll be surprised at how much evidence you can find to counter those negative beliefs.
That's such a powerful exercise in self-discovery. It's like we're reframing the narrative we've been telling ourselves.
Yeah.
And Dr. Dispenza also talks about the power of affirmations.
Right, absolutely. Affirmations are like positive self-talk on steroids.
Wow.
They're powerful tools for rewiring our brains. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm not good enough, well, guess what? Your brain starts to believe it.
Right.
But if you start replacing that with, I am worthy, I am capable, I am enough, over time you'll start to shift those neural pathways and actually believe it.
It's like we're replacing the old tapes with new ones.
Exactly. Think of it like training a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
So it's really about being mindful of the stories we're telling ourselves and choosing to replace the negative ones with more empowering beliefs.
Mm.
We've talked about forgiveness, letting go of anxiety, and challenging limiting beliefs. What else is crucial to this art of letting go?
One of the most profound concepts Dr. Dispenza talks about is the idea of surrender.
Surrender.
Yeah.
That can sound a bit scary, like giving up.
I understand how it might sound that way, but surrender in this context doesn't mean giving up on your goals or dreams. It's more about accepting what is and trusting the journey.
Okay.
Recognizing that we can influence outcomes, but we can't always control them.
So it's about releasing that need to micromanage every aspect of our lives, accepting that sometimes things unfold in ways we didn't expect.
Exactly. When we surrender, we stop fighting against the current of life and allow ourselves to be carried by it. We let go of the illusion of control, and that opens us up to new possibilities. It's about realizing that sometimes the path we're meant to be on is revealed when we let go of the one we thought we should be on.
That raises an important question, though. How can surrendering to the flow of life actually make us more powerful, not less?
It does seem counterintuitive, doesn't it? But when we surrender, we free up so much energy that was being wasted on worry, control, and resistance. We become more adaptable, more resilient, and more open to the unexpected gifts that life has to offer.
So it's about shifting from a place of fear and scarcity to a place of trust and abundance.
Precisely. Surrender is about aligning ourselves with the natural flow of life, knowing that even in the midst of uncertainty, we are being guided toward our highest good. It's about recognizing that sometimes what we perceive as setbacks are actually redirects leading us to where we're truly meant to be.
This is really resonating with me. It's like letting go of the oars and trusting that the river will carry you to your destination.
That's a beautiful analogy. And speaking of letting go, Dr. Dispenza emphasizes that it's not a one-time event, but rather a daily practice. Like any skill, it requires consistent effort.
So it's not about achieving some perfect state of Zen, but rather about making conscious choices each day to release what's no longer serving us.
Exactly. It's about building that awareness muscle, recognizing when we're clinging to something that's no longer beneficial, and making the conscious choice to let it go. This concept really makes me think about decluttering a physical space.
Yeah.
Is there a parallel to decluttering our mental and emotional space?
That's such an interesting parallel. We get rid of physical clutter to create space for what we truly want and need. Could we apply that same principle to our internal world? Letting go of emotional baggage and limiting beliefs to make room for more peace, joy, and fulfillment.
Absolutely. Think of those little annoyances that pop up throughout the day. The spilled coffee, the traffic jam, the rude comment. Instead of getting caught up in frustration, try noticing the feeling, acknowledging it, and then letting it go. It's like choosing not to give those small things the power to dictate your emotional state.
So it's like we're training ourselves to not overreact to every little thing that doesn't go our way.
Exactly. And each time you do that, you're strengthening that letting go muscle. You're training your mind to respond differently to challenges.
And as we get better at letting go of those small annoyances, we become more resilient and better equipped to handle the bigger challenges too, right?
Absolutely. The more we practice letting go of the small stuff, the more we build that resilience muscle, which helps us navigate those inevitable bigger challenges that life throws our way. It's like building up our emotional immune system.
So it's not about avoiding challenges altogether, but about learning to move through them with more grace and ease.
Exactly. Challenges are inevitable, but suffering is optional. Letting go helps us choose the path of grace rather than getting stuck in the quicksand of suffering. It's about recognizing that challenges are often opportunities for growth. They force us to stretch, to adapt, to become more than we were before.
I think that's so important, especially in today's world where everything feels so fast-paced and chaotic. It's easy to feel overwhelmed and like we're constantly trying to keep up.
It is. But letting go helps us find that inner stillness, that sense of peace amidst the storm. It's like creating an oasis of calm within ourselves, a space where we can reconnect with our inner strength and wisdom.
But what about those times when it feels really hard to let go? When we're dealing with a major loss or a deep hurt? Is it still possible to practice letting go in those situations?
Absolutely. Those are the times when self-compassion becomes even more crucial. We need to be gentle with ourselves, acknowledge the pain, and allow ourselves to grieve. Letting go doesn't mean suppressing our emotions. It's about allowing them to flow through us without getting stuck in them.
It's like holding those emotions with an open hand rather than a clenched fist.
What a beautiful analogy. It's about recognizing that we are human and it's okay to feel pain, sadness, anger. Those emotions are all part of the human experience.
And it's okay to ask for help. Sometimes we need the support of friends, family, or even a therapist to help us navigate those more difficult emotions.
Absolutely. There's no shame in seeking support when we need it. In fact, it's a sign of strength and self-awareness.
We've talked about the benefits of letting go, the steps we can take, the importance of daily practice, and self-compassion. What I find fascinating is that Dr. Dispenza suggests letting go isn't just about feeling better, it's about creating a new reality for ourselves.
That's where it gets really interesting. He talks about how our thoughts and emotions actually create our reality. When we hold on to negativity, we're literally attracting more negativity into our lives.
It's like we're putting out a certain energy into the universe, and the universe responds in kind. So if we want to create a more positive and fulfilling life, we need to shift our energy.
Exactly. It's the law of attraction in action. What we focus on expands. So if we want more joy, abundance, and peace, we need to start by letting go of the thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors that are blocking those things from flowing into our lives.
Like we have this incredible power to shape our reality through the choices we make every day. What are your thoughts, listener? What's coming up for you as you listen to this? What resonates with you the most?
And perhaps even more importantly, what's one insight you're taking away from this deep dive? What's one small step you can take today to start incorporating this practice of letting go into your own life?
It's really empowering to think that we have more influence over our lives than we realize. We're not just passive bystanders. We have the ability to make choices that shape our reality.
We do. And one of the most powerful choices we can make is to choose gratitude.
Oh, yeah.
Dr. Dispenza talks about how gratitude can actually help us let go.
Okay.
It might seem a little counterintuitive at first because, letting go is about releasing things,
Right.
while gratitude is about focusing on what we have.
That is interesting. How does being grateful for what we have help us let go of what's not serving us?
Well, when we focus on all the good in our lives,
Yeah.
it becomes much harder to cling to negativity or resentment or scarcity. It's like shifting our perspective from what's missing to what's present, from lack to abundance.
Mhm.
Like when you're surrounded by beautiful scenery, you don't really focus on a tiny speck of dirt on the ground, do you?
That's a great analogy. It's like we're training our minds to focus on the positive
Exactly.
rather than getting bogged down by the negative. But how do we actually cultivate more gratitude in our everyday lives?
One simple yet really powerful practice is to just make it a daily habit.
Okay.
Each morning or evening, just take a few minutes to reflect on what you're grateful for.
Mm.
It could be anything big or small, your health, your loved ones, a beautiful sunset, a good cup of coffee.
Those are all good things.
The key is to really feel the gratitude in your heart.
So it's not just about thinking about what we're grateful for,
Right.
but actually feeling it deeply.
Exactly. And the more we practice feeling gratitude, the more it becomes a natural state of being.
Right.
And as we shift into a more grateful state of mind, we naturally start to let go of things that no longer align with that vibration.
It's like gratitude becomes a magnet for more positivity and abundance in our lives.
Yeah, precisely.
Hmm.
It's all about raising our vibration and aligning ourselves with the energy of what we want to experience. Letting go of what no longer serves us creates the space for those new experiences and opportunities to come in.
Wow, this deep dive has been so enlightening. It's clear that letting go is not just some abstract concept. It's a practice that can truly transform our lives from the inside out.
Absolutely. It's a journey of self-discovery, healing, growth, and ultimately freedom.
So listener, as we wrap up this deep dive, what's one thing that really stood out to you? What's resonating with you the most?
And what's one tiny weight, maybe a grudge or a worry or a negative thought pattern that you're willing to set down today? Even the smallest step can make a difference.
Remember, you are worthy of freedom and peace. Be patient with yourself, trust the process, and keep practicing the art of letting go. Until next time, keep exploring.